me take that thing off here. Okay. Hey you guys, Sophia here. I don't know which day it is, but recognize this. This is Acorn Hall in Morristown. It's the Morristown Historical Society. I did a tour last year. There was a Christmas tour with Victorian attire, and it was a big success. I'll link the video down below and then up here so you can watch that. I told them I was coming back this year to film again, and they wanted me to come back. So we're gonna go in. The exhibit this year is a little bit different, I believe. And I said that in the last video. I believe it's about women at work during Victorian Times, and is also celebrating the 100 year of the rights to vote for women. So let's go check it out, do the tour. Hopefully there's some Christmas decor still, and lots of costumes, Victorian stuff to look at. It's gonna be a good time. I hope you enjoy. Pretty house?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh. There's a lot to maneuver here between the glasses, the hat, the mask, the camera. Okay, here we go. Oh look, this is the old-fashioned type of doorbell. You got a pull. Hello. This is Katie.
Yes, Katie.
And she is our guide today, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the history of Acorn Hall, and she will show us every room and what's going on with the exhibit today.
Yes. So welcome to Acorn Hall. This house was, this is the home of the Morris County Historical Society. It was gifted to the society in 1971 by Mary Crane Hone. Mary was the fourth generation of her family to live in the house, and before that it was owned by John Peter Skermerhorn. Dr. Skermerhorn built the house in 1853, and he moved his family from New York City into this house. His two daughters and his wife, they also had a third daughter when they lived here. She was born in the house. And at the time, the house was just a typical Georgian four-square. So it was just this main part of the house. Now, Dr. Skermerhorn's wife and his middle daughter sadly passed away. So he sold the house in 1857 to Augustus Crane, also from New York City. It was Mr. Crane who expanded the house into what you see today, into the Italianate Victorian style. He added this dining room wing, the third floor, the tower, and the porches on the front and back. And the color that you see of the house is reflected as what the Cranes had it painted as in the 1850s. So after these renovations in 1860, Augustus Crane moved his family in, his two daughters, Mary Ellen and Julia, and his two sons, Augustus Jr. and Benjamin, and his wife. This is where their front entrance would be. This would be where you would enter in the Crane's home. You can see here under some old painting is a style of painting that looks like three-dimensional wood. It's called a trompe-l'oeil effect. That means to fool's one eye. So right now we'll go into the hallway into the house, and here's where I will introduce to you our exhibit. So our current exhibit is called Material Gains in Women's Opportunities. Between the 1870s and the 1930s, with all the advancements in technology and industry, women became employed. Throughout this entire time, the number one employer of women was domestic service. 25% of employed women were in domestic service. So we have here a maid's uniform. That would have been typical of one you would see in the 1870s. The Cranes did have some servants, and they probably would have had worn something very similar to this. The house also uses call boxes, so you would find a strategically placed bell to ring, and in the servants' hall there would be a box, a corresponding box to say, so they would know what room needed service. Servants would do anything from answer the door to serve tea to helping the lady of the house get dressed for the day. And speaking of serving tea, they would bring guests tea into the front parlor. So you can see here we have the lady of the house entertaining her guest in this purple walking suit. This would have been a much more formal room. Children typically weren't allowed in this room unless it was a holiday or a special occasion. This room, this is the original wallpaper, the original fireplace, and also the original carpet. So this carpet is a design that was introduced at the 1851 Great Exhibition in London at the Crystal Palace, put on by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. The carpet uses over 90 vegetable dyes to get the color.
So this is all the original furnishing.
This is the original Skermerhorn furnishing from the 1850s.
Wow.
It had been reupholstered
Yes.
about 5 years ago, I wanna say.
Oh, it was reupholstered.
But you
Okay.
can see the original upholstery here. This is what the original looked like. So it's a very close
Oh, wow.
reproduction.
So what can you tell me about this dress in particular? Because this looks like a very petite woman.
She does look very small. I don't know that there's anything specific about her other than to showcase that she would be calling, that's more of a walking suit rather than, you can see this is more of a day dress for someone who's entertaining guests. The purple lady is the one visiting, so it's more if you're outdoors and walking.
Mm-hmm.
But just to show, you know, something like a suit that a lady would have.
And this would be more like the lady of the house.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, an interior type
Yes.
attire.
I'll also point out the trompe-l'oeil effect on the ceiling as well to give a three-dimensional, much more opulent effect rather than actually having a carved ceiling.
Mm. I'm sorry, I didn't notice that the last time I was here. It's beautiful.
Mm.
Really, if you look at it quickly, it does look like it's
Absolutely.
3D.
Especially the corner over there.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
You
That one
you
especially.
absolutely cannot tell
Yeah.
that this is just painted. Fabulous.
So this is the library. If the front parlor is more of a ladies' room, this is more of a man's room or a man cave. You have the dark decor and the dark wallpaper. You also have the elements of bringing the outdoors inside, which was very popular in Victorian times. You have the antler footstool. You have the paintings of the seaside, and you also have some of these taxidermy birds. They are real birds.
Yes, they are real
alive,
birds.
Currently.
Yeah, no, not done by the family, but it is something that was typical of that time frame.
Bringing the outdoors in, they also would have had, you know, a lot of live plants around the house, but due to, you know, bugs and moisture, we don't have those in the house right now. We do have Augustus Crane's original Gothic bookcase and his full library that he brought with him from New York City. Augustus Crane put in his will that the library remained intact as long as the house remained in the family.
Oh wow.
It did, so we have his entire library. We have, the oldest book here is a 1760 London Almanac. There's also an English translation of the Quran.
I'll point out, because I see that.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know which one it was.
Yeah.
And we also have some of Augustus Crane's gardening guides that he bought when he moved into the house. The guides have his notes as to what he planted and wanted to plant in the backyard. He had like a small orchard and garden. We have these beautiful lithophanes. So these lithophanes are porcelain plaques that when they're backlit, you can see their design. This technique was developed in Europe in the early 1800s. And they were used to put in front of a lamp or a candle or a nightlight. So these are very beautiful, and we're excited to have these on display.
And you know, the Japanese tea sets back in the early 10s and 20s had geisha lithophane at the bottom of the teacups.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so this is something that was used for quite some time, and they are highly collectible actually, and they can be very pretty, and it's basically doing different layers of porcelain.
Yes, you'll see where the porcelain is thicker, it's darker, and where it's thinner, the more light comes through.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really showing, but yeah, they're fabulous.
The Morristown Sewing School. We have these books here, donated by Congressman Frelinghuysen. Not much is known about the school outside of these books, but we do know that it took place in the 1880s and taught girls ages 5 through 15 different sewing skills, hemming, basic sewing, fulling. We know that the girls lived locally within walking distance of the school and were generally daughters of tradesmen, butchers, carpenters, bakers. And we can tell from the books that the girls were taught how to prepare themselves for sewing, to have clean hands and how to dress, wear an apron, and how to present themselves for future work. They may not have gone into employment in sewing, but they at least had that skill, which was necessity and really considered feminine for a long time, and probably still is to a certain extent.
Right.
And it was a needed skill too.
Right, absolutely, just to make your own
Milliners and
clothes.
seamstresses, yeah.
Yeah, which we'll talk about when we go upstairs for sure. So as we go into the dining room, you'll notice the change in the floorboards from the Skermerhorn original to the crane extension.
Oh,
Thinner floorboards.
fabulous. Gorgeous.
So I'll try to stay out of your way as I just tell you about the dining room. This is the original crane suite. You can see the AC Augustus crane on the napkins. Are these the original dishes? Or?
No, I don't believe these are.
Okay. But it is the original table and chairs. Original marble fireplace. Original sideboard. The organ over here is a donation, but you guys see a photo of the original organ that was here at the time. The wallpaper is a reproduction of the original. And we do know that, so this table, while it's right now set for, a large party or a family holiday, the table has a leaf in it and can be collapsed and probably put into this window. And we know that the children were given dance lessons in this room.
Oh, wow.
They had a teacher come out from Caldwell on the train, give the 4 children dance lessons, and that happened here. So you'll see over here, right over near Scott, is a portrait of Augustus Crane. He is the man who put on this addition and made it into the large house that you see today. That's him as an older man. His daughter, his eldest daughter, Mary Ellen. Now, Mary Ellen had 3 sons. Her youngest, I think it was her youngest son, Augustus, ended up inheriting the house, and he is the one who married this lovely lady, Alice Castleman, who you can see. Alice Castleman was from Louisville, Kentucky. And her father, who you see right on the left of her, Brigadier General John Breckinridge Castleman, he fought in the Civil War and other wars for the South in Kentucky. And the fact that he allowed his daughter to marry a man from the North was quite a big deal. But Alice is the one who we can thank for making some modern improvements to the house. Alice added the radiator heating the indoor plumbing, and the electricity in the house. She did that in 1935.
Before that time, the original family members, the famed family members, felt that it was important to keep this as Victorian as possible. And that is why when Alice updated the electricity, we believe she tried to make it as natural as possible with just the candle lights on the walls. Makes sense? And obviously, there's chandeliers, but...
Yes, so in this part of the exhibit, we're highlighting women's education. The Morristown Female Institute was a school on South Street. It was a day and boarding school for women, for young ladies. And in the 1870s, it was taken over by Miss Elizabeth Dana. Her school was so successful that she eventually was able to purchase the building outright. Miss Dana's school had a curriculum that was so rigorous that she could guarantee her students entry into Vassar, Wellesley, or Smith colleges. They would learn the classics that many women generally weren't taught. We weren't taught things that like science or history at a finishing school, but that's what Miss Dana's school taught. At the time, and in the 1880s and 70s, about 60% of high school graduates were female, but only 19% of college graduates were female. That number wouldn't double until the 1930s.
Huh. So it was quite a feat to be able to go to college.
Absolutely.
As a female. Okay. That centerpiece is glorious.
So that one is not an original piece to the house, and it's called an Acorn, Epergne, and that is a piece that you would have in a lot of houses like this, but that is just not the one that this house had. But it does match our theme, the Acorn Hall theme of woodland animals and the acorn, or the oak tree rather, with the acorns.
And they would use this to put fruit on the table.
Fruit,
They would
yeah,
have
candy
grapes,
things,
cascading on the side.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
This is currently our staff sitting room, but this would be the butler's pantry. The kitchen was downstairs. The food would be brought up, plated in here, brought into the dining room, and the reverse would happen. It was Alice Castleman who brought the kitchens up from the basement. She actually put it on the other side of this wall, which is now our archives. But the color scheme here is the original color scheme from the 1860s. As we go up the stairs, you'll note on the walls more of the trompe-l'oeil effect. You'll also notice the marbleizing paint that was recreated from the original swatch of wallpaper and recreated by an artist in Morristown using a turkey feather.
Huh. And an elevator.
Yes. So the elevator was put in for Augustus Hone, who married the man who married Alice Castleman. He had a heart condition, so in the 1930s, with the installation of the electricity, he installed this elevator to get him up to his bedroom each day.
So this is the summer room.
This is the summer bedroom.
And I remember that from the last visit. This is the room where they would move here in the summer because there was more windows and it was cooler side of the house.
Yes, and there's also no fireplace in here.
Right.
So this was probably the girls' bedrooms, Julia and Mary Ellen, probably their bedroom. This is the furniture suite that Augustus Crane bought for his daughters. He bought it from a catalog. It's a typical cottage style that was popular with young girls. He bought it from a catalog, and it cost about $68. Today would be $1,600. It wasn't the most expensive, but it was by no means the lowest model. So you could kind of order, speaking of industrialization, you can order kind of to your taste. The original moss rose wallpaper is here. And we have the recently restored cornices and the period appropriate window treatments as well. We also have, this is a photo of the Skermerhorn Girls taken at Matthew Brady's studio in New York City.
Huh. This is an actual photograph.
Yes.
Yes.
Donated from, I believe, the Skermerhorns, Louisa's,
One of their ancestors. but
I
don't
think,
remember who.
niece,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah.
It's a relative of one of the Skermerhorn Girls.
Yeah, one of the relatives I meant, you know what I meant.
And here we are clearly exhibiting some millinery. In the 1900s, by the turn of the 1900s, 98% of milliners were women. And in Morristown alone, there were 22 millinery shops. One woman in particular, Elizabeth Jones, she opened her own millinery shop at the age of 22. She had the shop for about 15 years, but between the popularity of department stores and industrialization, her shop closed, but she became the head buyer for a local department store, Epstein's, that was on the green. That is no longer there. So up here is where we're getting into more of the industriousness of female employment. This sewing machine is from the Demarest company. Madame Demarest is credited with the advent of the drafted dress pattern.
Yes, thank you. I know where you're going with this. I can't think of what to say now.
Sorry, my words are escaping. She made it possible for women to, instead of having a full dress made, you could just buy a pattern for the sleeves or for the bodice or for the collar.
Right.
And that way you could
Or the
not
petticoat.
have to buy smaller amounts of fabric, but also tailor something to your taste and style.
Huh.
Madame Demarest worked with her husband and her sister. She would go to London and Paris and send back sketches of the fashions that she saw. Her sister would make them up, and they would sell them off.
And is that it right here?
Yes.
Demarest
Is that the
magazine.
same Demarest and the town in New Jersey?
I don't.
So maybe
I think
it's just a
slightly different
known.
spelling. If
That I don't know, but.
And these are examples of the.
Yeah, so these are the fashion plates that would have featured in the Demarest magazine. She had a monthly magazine that featured these fashion plates, but also articles on women's suffrage, temperance, and civil rights, which were quite radical ideas at the time.
And do you know if those patterns were affordable to everyone, or they were just?
I think the fact that they were you could buy just pieces of a pattern, like like sleeves or a skirt or a collar area, made them slightly more affordable than a full dress pattern.
So if you were pretty good at what you do in terms of a seamstress, you could actually expand on your skills and open a shop and be able to do repairs as well, or change
I
sleeves
would
on the
think so,
dress from
yeah.
summer
Or
sleeves
even-
to winter sleeves, or
even work from home. If you had a sewing machine in your home, that would open up more, without having to leave the home, you could take on clients and work from your home.
is this a nightgown?
I think it's a summer day dress.
Really?
Would you
Gorgeous.
say this is like
Yeah,
more
I
of a
think
summer
so,
day
too.
dress?
We lost our cheat sheets. our little tag, because I don't remember what it was, but I think that was the summer day dress.
A happy place.
So in here we have set up as a sewing room. This would have been obviously attached to the master bedroom, and you can see where the original Skermerhorn house would have ended, and the addition from the tower that this cranes put on.
Right.
So this would have been more of a ladies' room, possibly a dressing room. Maybe there was a desk in here for the lady of the house to write letters or make up the menu for the week, or sew, whatever she had to do. And over here we have some photos of Mary Crane Hone. She is the daughter of Alice Castleman and Augustus Hone. So she is the one who donated the house, Acorn Hall, to the Historical Society. Mary had a career. She went to RADA in London and had a career in London on the stage and on Broadway. And eventually she came back home in the 1930s. Her father was a bit sick with his heart condition. So she came home to kind of care for her family and just move back home. She became very active in politics and in historical preservation. She was also very opposed to the building of Route 287, going so far as to chain herself to a bulldozer. As we can see, she was unsuccessful ultimately, but she was able to save Acorn Hall at least, and for that we are very thankful to her because we now get to see it as she would have known it.
She was also in her 60s when she did that, so that's an amazing thing.
Kind of a rebel, huh?
Yeah. As opposed to Madame Demarest, Singer became like the name in sewing machines because they came up with a scheme to allow the buyer to have a payment plan, make payments in installments, so instead of buying it, at one price, you could pay monthly.
Right.
So you could have it in your home. It was much more accessible to people who were less wealthy. So you could sew for your family instead of 28 hours, it would take 4 hours.
Right.
You could work out of your home if you had your own sewing machine. So it was quite the thing. Demarest didn't have that, so they were less accessible to everyday people. And now we'll go into the master bedroom. I'll let you go in first so you can get some nice shots. It is darker in here, so if you need to adjust any settings. We have this design as the master bedroom. This is the original Crane sleigh bed. It's just a few inches shy of queen size. Beds were custom made at the time. But this is his original bed. And his original shaving suite. And you can see over here more of bringing the outdoors in with the horn mirror. You'll also note the fireplace, much less opulent than the ones downstairs. It's a plain iron fireplace because guests were not going to see your upstairs.
Right.
So you didn't have to have a very fancy fireplace. So if you could afford to have a slightly less expensive fireplace in your bedroom, you could do that and spend more elsewhere where guests were going to see it.
It was just about functionality more than anything
Absolutely.
else, yes.
You'll also notice the Acorn wallpaper, the
yes.
original Acorn wallpaper, with a little iridescence made with aluminum powder. The Cranes named the house Acorn Hall when they moved in because there was a large elm tree on the front. Oak tree. Thank you. Oak tree. I knew elm was wrong.
As soon as you said it, I'm like,
As soon as I said it, I knew it was wrong. A large oak tree on the front porch, on the front lawn. Around 2000, it took on some storm damage, so it was taken down, but there was another one planted and it's doing pretty well. We also have this lamp. This is a Handel lamp. Handel was a direct competitor for a time with Tiffany. They were a company out of Connecticut. However, Handel only made lamps, whereas Tiffany made other kinds of stained glass artworks and jewelry. And so they were able to make more money, whereas Handel was not, so they eventually went out of business. This piece here, on the dresser here,
That's
is
the
called a
chatelaine.
chatelaine.
Yeah.
Chatelaine means lady of the castle. Basically, in Victorian times, purses were not very stylish to carry. So you would pin the chatelaine to your waist, and you would have everything you need. You have a little notebook, a pen, bottle of perfumes, a nail file, a little container for maybe hairpins and maybe one for pills. Whatever you would need, you could add and mix and match as you needed. There were very few occupations that women could have if they were married, but running a boarding house was one. Because you could run out of your own homes and you would have, probably your husband would be in the house, so no funny business could happen. But one particular Morristown woman, Augusta Colbath, was very successful boarding house owner. She was so successful, she was actually able to buy the house next door, so she ran 2 houses. So she had, she was able to run her boarding houses. She lived with her mother, 11 servants, and could serve up to 26 boarders.
Wow.
So typically boarding houses would provide you with a room, usually a meal, and sometimes laundry services.
Wow.
So, very popular, but yeah, one of the few things that married women could.
And Morristown was definitely a pass-through for people coming from the west into the Newark and New York
And
area.
vice versa, from people coming
So
from
they
the
had.
city, probably into the more
And
country at that time.
what year was that?
Oh, probably in the 1880s.
Yeah.
Right. So they had to do horse carriage for the most
Yeah.
part,
Yes.
and if there was no train line, though the Morris line, I think, was one of the first ones that they
Right,
had.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they probably, I'm sure there was some sort of like stagecoach type
Right. Set
carriage
up.
service. But at the time, Morristown would have been considered more semi-rural rather than the more urban area that it is today. It was still considered very country. And Augustus Crane considered himself more of a gentleman farmer. He had actually up to 9 acres when he bought the place. So he had lots of space to have his orchard. He had a hennery, in addition to the carriage house, which you'll see outside. So there was much more property back then than you see right now.
So you're telling me that running water and plumbing was installed here in 1935.
Correct.
So during that time, up to running water, they had to bring the water with buckets and fill up tubs
Yes.
and probably heat up the water in the
Probably heat it up in the
kitchen.
kitchen and then bring it up to the bedroom for a tub, or boil it to heat up for tea or making any other kind of soups or
Yeah.
food that was needed.
So it looks very comfortable living, but it certainly was not easy
No.
living.
Sure.
Now, what is this room?
So this is what we call the music room. This is the original wallpaper, and this is the Castleman furniture suite that was brought up from Louisville, Kentucky. This is the original recently restored cornice over the big window here, and still the continuation of the carpet. We also have the Chickering Piano. So this piano was a wedding gift from the Cranes to their eldest daughter, Mary Ellen. She married the boy next door, John Home. And they lived here while the Homes were having their wedding gift to the couple finished, which is the house across the street, Rest Harrow, private residence. So this piano would have lived across the street until Mary Ellen unfortunately passed of typhoid
Yeah.
Oh boy.
at the age of 28. Now eventually, John Home decided that he wanted to move his 3 boys back to New York City and get married again. So the Cranes asked for the piano back. There was some back and forth between the families, but ultimately the piano did end up back in the Crane family, and we have it today.
Our tour is finished, and I wanted to personally thank Cathy and Stephanie for the tour. Could you tell us how folks who are interested in assisting with the continued restoration of Acorn Hall can help? Because this is a historical society.
Yes, it is member and visitor supported. You could become a member, and any proceeds from the gift shop to the membership, yearly membership, go towards continued restoration and preservation, as well as other projects. Currently, we have the carriage house that is being restored. I think it's in phase 2.
Yeah.
Roof and structural work, I believe. We also have the St. Cecilia stained glass window that's being restored in Massachusetts, so that should be back in about 11 months.
Okay.
If you're local visiting the grounds, or I should say the house, the hall, that donation that you give goes back to the society.
Wonderful. And how many exhibits do you have like this per year?
Big exhibits throughout the house, I want to say 2. Sometimes we do have smaller exhibits within the main exhibitions. But the house history is always the same
Right.
that we tell.
And the attires, the dresses, all of the artifacts that we saw today, these were all donated by locals, for the most part.
I believe
I
so.
believe most of it is, yes. Part of what we are trying to convey is that there is a lot of history within not only this house, but also Morris County. So we're trying to find local artists to highlight as well.
Great, great. Thank you very much, ladies. This
you for
was
coming.
really, really thorough, very nice. I enjoyed it, and I'm sure all my viewers enjoyed it as well.
Good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. So that was the tour, and I have to tell you guys, they knew I was coming, but I didn't expect them to actually do the tour on camera. I thought I was just going to film and do a voiceover. So I hope you enjoyed this. This was fascinating. Boy, oh boy, would I love to volunteer. If it wasn't so far, I probably would do it. I'm gonna go check out the carriage house because this is what they are doing right now as a restoration project. And they said they would be probably done within 11 months. So the next year when I come back for another tour of Acorn Hall, we can compare what the carriage house used to look like. And if you can, check out their website. I'll put the link down below. If you are in New Jersey, come and visit. And if you can support their endeavor here of trying to restore this fabulous property back to its former glory, please do so. That would be, I would be very grateful because these ladies do a fantastic job. Boy, walking in snow is not easy. Anyway, this is the carriage house that they're currently restoring. So you see they're going to do the roof and then I guess all of the interior. It looks to me like there was one carriage and probably room for about 4 horses. I haven't seen the inside, so I can't tell you. But I can't wait to see it next year when it's done. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I sure did. The outfits were fantastic. Christmas decor, always pretty in Victorian homes. And this made me very happy, and I hope it made you happy as well. We are done for today, so guess what? I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up and give these ladies a thumbs up if you liked their presentation, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.